We are ready. Everybody get a packet?
Yes.
Everybody's got a pen? Good. This is one of those days where we don't just sit here and listen, but we actually take action, work through things. So that way you can not only get resources, but go home with some action steps, go home with resources to apply and start making changes. Because what we talk about today is the key to success, and not just your health this year, but really every other area of your life. There's a reason why a lot of people say they want to do things or that they should do things and that result doesn't come, or that the same issues and barriers and limitations come up over and over and over again, right? That's not unique to any one of us. There are also some great tools that help people be successful consistently. That doesn't take some radical motivation, that doesn't take some amazing genetics, a specific type of a personality. Each and every one of you can be successful in every area of your life by applying the things that you're going to learn here tonight. So the greatest thing I ask you to do is participate, and then take what you learn and take action. Because nothing will ever change without action. Any of the things that we talk about today, any of the resources, any of the tools, whatever mindset or motivation you have, it's action that actually changes behavior, and it's action that creates results. So you already took action for being here tonight, so give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah, that's where it starts. You are the action takers. There's a lot of people at home saying they want something better for their life that didn't show up, right? So showing up is half the battle. Now it's continuing that. And the cool part of it too is not some drastic change. It's not like we're going to take a 180-degree change today. It's just small shifts consistently over time create success. And the reason why we do this is because I see so many people who want better in their life, but are consistently getting in their own way and always creating reasons why they can't have what they truly do deserve to have. So I want to make sure you guys are equipped with the mindset necessary to be successful in your health and to help others do the same. Does that sound good?
Yep.
And that's really our mission, to empower you to live a healthier life naturally, right? It's like teaching somebody to fish versus giving them a fish. I can feed you today or teach you to feed yourself for a lifetime. And that's the idea behind this mindset, is how do you be successful for a lifetime? So when we get into it, why do many people's resolutions fail? Maybe you might be one of those people that says, well, I don't really do resolutions, or I don't set goals, or whatever that may be. Or you may be very specific with the goals and intentions and things you want for yourself this year and in your life. Wherever you are on that, there's a reason why a majority of those things that are on that list that you say we want or say that we should do don't show up. So we're going to go through some of those things here today, and then as part of this workshop, we're going to go through how to actually overcome those, right? How to be successful, and why the people who have a lot of things they want, it's not an accident, it's not good luck. It's doing these things and following it consistently. And you'll be leaving with those resources today. So let's first look at why people come short of where they want in their lives. Number one is a lot of times we aim too high, right? We think we can do a lot, overestimate what we can do in a day or a week, but we underestimate what's possible in a year or 3 years or 5 years or a decade of time. There is no quick fix. There is no get-rich-quick program. There's no silver bullet, right? Even though people who do achieve that, if you watch them, within a short period of time, they're falling right back because they didn't actually change anything. So when you aim too high and you have an accelerated expectation, a lot of times you're setting yourself up for failure. So part of our goals is going to be how to set up attainable goals and action steps that we can be consistent with. Number two is you don't know what to do when things don't go according to plan. I do a lot of personal development, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to host this class, because it's really helped me, and it's allowed me to help a lot of other people in their health and their life journey. And one of the things that happens is you have this plan, and you're excited about it, and you're going, and something comes up. You get sick, something happens in your life, the heater goes out, your car breaks down, something happens to a friend or family member, your work situation changes, and then poof, all that good stuff just goes to the back burner. You go to an amazing event or a great seminar, and you come home and something just hits you right away. I guarantee you it's going to happen. There is no doubt about that. It may happen today, next week, next month, but there are gonna things that come up that push you off your plan. And if you don't have a plan to deal with the setbacks, you're going to go backwards. Next is we lose motivation. When you're constantly requiring outside motivation, it's hard to stay consistent. So the better way is to create an internal drive to keep moving forward. And a way to make that simple, where it doesn't require massive extreme action every single day, because that's just not sustainable. And realizing that your best today may not be the same as your best yesterday or 5 years ago or 10 years from now, but always doing your best in the situation you have with what you have available to you. And when you do that, you don't have to rely on motivation to be successful, because you have actually a system to follow that's just about doing the things, and you'll get to where you want to go. The next is your social network. There's a lot of people that say you are like the people you hang out with the most. So if you're someone who's trying to be healthy and fit, and everyone you hang around with is out of shape and doesn't work out and doesn't eat very healthy, how's that going to go over time? Right? When you guys are out, we're like, oh, we're getting pizza and beer, let's get some for you, but you're trying to stay on track with your nutrition plan or with your health goals. Or if you're trying to be successful in your marriage, you don't want to hang out with divorced people. Or if you want your kids to have a great life, you don't want to talk to people who their kids are in jail or still live at home when they're 40. Right? So you want to look at who are you around, and are these people driving you to be better? Are they encouraging you to be successful? Or are they bringing you down, halting you, constantly questioning your growth and where you're going in your life? And that's what you got to change first of all, is the people around you, right? Because the right people will drive you to be successful, will encourage and want you to succeed. The people who don't have that are going to want to bring you back and keep you from doing it. And then don't be so focused on immediate results, right? What have we been taught right now in our immediate gratification society, that we want it right now, right away, last week even? So be okay with not being successful right away, but also learn how to find the small wins along the way that actually will build momentum over time. And these are part of the things we'll be going through as we work through the different tools that we have available to you, that I'm going to give you everything you need for, and you can follow through and go read the books and do the trainings and go as deep as you like, and I highly encourage you to do so, because the best investment is always going to be in yourself. Right? When do we stop learning and growing? Never, right? Life's a journey, health's a journey. It's something you should always be working on, because as soon as you stop working on yourself and the things that you want in your life, where do they go? Yeah, they go backwards, right? There is no maintain. There is no same. You're either better or you're worse, right? So either you're working on getting better or you're getting worse over time. And our goal is to help you continue to get better in the areas of your life. So we want to start looking at not necessarily just goals, but things that we really want to achieve in our life, and especially in our health, because health is the catalyst for everything you want in your life. It gives you the energy and the vitality and the pathways to do all the things that you want to do and be the best version of yourself. So one of the things that you have in here is a SMART goal worksheet. So this is the first thing we're going to work on in your packets. Looks like this. Everybody have that? Everybody has a pen? You need a packet still? Okay. So this is in your packet that you have. It's the first page. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and just write down one goal in each of these areas. Now you may not be able to do these all here today, but I encourage you to at least work on one area of your health. So for some of you, that's going to be my physical health, my chiropractic care, overcoming ailments, continuing to improve upon your corrective care. For some people, it's going to be getting your nutrition plan online. Make sure we're doing the right things consistently, day in, day out. Others, maybe mindset and stress and healthy habits is going to be key for you. Others, it's getting moving, and it's creating an exercise routine, and it's changing up your ergonomics. And then others, it may be toxins, right? Cleaning out old issues, working through that. So we're going to go through how to do each of these, and I encourage you to start working through these as we do it. I'll give you a little bit of time to work on it as we explain it. Has anybody ever done SMART goals before? This isn't a new concept. I didn't come up with this, but there is a reason why it works, and we're going to go far beyond just setting the goals, but how to actually achieve them, which is really going to be the coolest part, because it's not goals or words that get you there. It's having a system, and the system is what really becomes successful, and that changes your identity. And then automatically you start doing these things without requiring any outside motivation. So number one is S. S stands for simple. A goal should be simple. We don't need a 2-page written out goal of what you want. Now it's okay to create a vision for your life, but when it comes to areas, we want to be simple, specific, easy, which means you can explain it to somebody in one sentence or a couple of words. So that way it's very clear. Number 2 is going to be measurable. So a lot of times we'll put goals out there that are ambiguous. I want to have more energy. I want to lose weight. I want to be a nicer person, a better husband or a wife. I want to go on more trips. Whatever that is, those are all great things, but we want to get specific, because if you can't measure it, how do you really know if you're actually making progress? So whatever goal you set for yourself or intention needs to be specifically measurable and have some way of knowing, am I moving in the right direction on this or am I not? Number 3 is attainable, and we talked about this at the beginning. We don't want to set a goal that's too high, right? If you haven't worked out in a year and you say, I want to enter a bodybuilding contest next month, that's not the most attainable goal. But you can do that maybe in a couple of years or 5 or 10 years. So we want to create things that are achievable. Now, it's good to have ambition, and we don't want to set goals that are too low, right? Because then you're not really achieving much. But we don't want to go way too high, because that's when you're setting yourself up for failure. So we can have a long-term vision of, I want to do this, but we need to set up little stepping stone goals along the way to be able to get there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Relevant. So relevant means that what you're doing is part of what you're actually focused on in your life. So it doesn't be something that's totally outside of it, and it should be something that's important to you, not something that's important to somebody else or something that you think you should do or you've been pressured into, because a lot of times you're not going to have the drive that you need to be successful in that area. So it needs to be relevant to you. It needs to be important to you. It needs to be something that's going to add to the quality of your life or your bigger purpose for yourself or really what you're all about. And then number 5, it needs to have a timeline. Timeline is, I want to make sure I'm doing this by this period of time. So again, that way people can hold you accountable. You know that you're taking action towards it. Because I want to be healthier isn't a very good goal. Well, when? Next week? Next month? Next year? 5 years from now? You know, I always say the best time to work on anything is right now. And if not now, then when? Because there's so many things that we talk about that we want, but then it's just kind of out there in the ether, and there's no real action steps to that. There's no real measurable goals. There's no time frame. Therefore, it likely never happens. Because there's always going to be something else that comes up. If you don't make the things that are important to you a priority, other people's priority will come on to you. So that's why you design your life first, and then you work everything else around that. So here's a quick example, and then we'll take some time to fill out the sheets here, of what do we do with the SMART goal. So this is a common one. One of the most common ones each year is I want to lose weight. So that's a good goal. I would like to lose weight. Now, that's not very specific, right? So now we want to go, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. Now we have a goal that we can measure. I weigh 210 now. I want to be 210 at a later time, right? That can be measured. That can be tracked. Weigh myself at the end of every week at the same time. This is how I measure my progress. So if we want to do it over a period of time and say, okay, I'm going to weigh myself once a week to see where I'm at. Maybe once a day if we're trying to do it in a shorter period of time. Once a month. However long that period is, depending on what your goal is. And then attainable. Okay, so my goal is I want to lose half a pound a week. That's reasonable. Trying to say you're going to lose 10 pounds a week, that's pretty tough. Right? Some people may be able to do that, but on the average person, I would say that's not even healthy to lose that amount of weight in a short period of time. So we want to set up something that is attainable. This is attainable, half pound a week. It's something I can achieve, it's healthy, and it's going to create long-term results. Right? Because if you could lose 10 pounds in a month, but then you stop doing all those things and you gain 15 back, you didn't do a whole lot of good. So we want to create something that's sustainable over time, and it's been relevant. I've been overweight my whole life. I've been trying to do other things. Losing weight is good for my health, and it's important to me. Like, it makes sense as part of my life journey, my life mission. And then timely. Starting today, I'm going to start my plan. My deadline for achieving my goal is 20 weeks. So in 20 weeks, I want to be able to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to do that by doing half a pound a week. I'm going to weigh myself at the end of every week to make sure I'm on track with that. And it's important to me because I've been overweight my whole life, and I know that losing weight is going to be healthier for me, and it's going to allow you to do more of the things that I want to do. Does that make sense? Yep. This is very clear, right? You could explain this to somebody. You could say, hey, Chris, I have a goal. I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 20 weeks. My plan is to lose half a pound a week because I've been wanting to lose weight for years and nothing has really worked, but I'm really committed to this. Can you help hold me accountable? I'm going to weigh myself every week and just to make sure I'm on track. Yep. Makes sense, right? Versus saying, oh, what do you want to work on this year? I want to lose weight. You see the difference?
Yeah.
Which one's going to be more successful? And a month from now, I can say, how's it going, Chris? You know, how much weight have you lost? Oh, I've lost 4 pounds. I'm actually ahead of where I want to be at this point. Oh, that's awesome, man. You're killing it. So what are you going to continue to focus on? And maybe you need to adjust your goal. Like, I'm doing better than I thought, so maybe I can actually lose 20 pounds in this 20 weeks because I'm doing the things and this is sustainable and I can keep doing it. So this is what we want to do for our SMART goals here. So take a couple of minutes and I'll walk through in more detail what are these 5 essentials if it's still newer to you and kind of go through what that looks like. But you don't need to fill out this whole sheet tonight. Okay. What we want to do though is do an example of at least one area. So if there's one area that you really want to focus on improving this year in any one of these 5 essentials, let's walk through how to do this and do a SMART goal for that. So as we're doing, I'm going to walk through the 5 essentials. So core chiropractic, anything on that would be I want to work on improving my posture. I have areas of pain still that I want to make sure that I'm overcoming with. I sit a lot for work. I know it puts a lot of stress on my spine and my back hurts or my neck hurts or I get pain in my arm and I want to work on that. Or I want to be more consistent with my home care so that I have more energy and it doesn't hurt to do the activities that I want to do, or that I can sleep better, or I know it's important for overcoming some of my health issues. So walking through things that you could do with your chiropractic care, which could include adjustments. It could include how you set up your ergonomics and workstation. It could include how you do your home care and how you incorporate these things as part of a daily health routine. We want to write those things out. Nutrition. Having a nutrition plan is huge. Now, we're not talking about a diet plan because we all know diet plans don't work long term. You do a diet for a period of time and then you stop doing it. Right? You can't wait to get off it because the whole point of a diet is a short-term plan. We want to have a sustainable health plan that we can follow when it comes to nutrition. There's basic rules for that. We're not going to get into that today because that's not what this workshop's about. That's what we're going to be talking about on the 18th when we go through our metabolism makeover. But really having a plan for your nutrition, something that's a minimum standard that you want to stick to all the time, and then that can go change over time depending on what our goals are, right? So if nutrition is your thing, what do you really want to focus on in your nutrition to set a good plan for the year, right? I want to make sure I stop eating out so often. I want to make sure I stop eating these things I know are not good for me. I want to make sure I start getting more organic foods. I want to make sure that I'm following the core plan or the advanced plan, or I'm staying consistent with it, or I want to get coaching in my nutrition this year because it's an area that I'm really focused and committed to getting better. So whatever that is for your nutrition, we want to be able to write that down and go into what that looks like for you. Mindset, which is what today's all about. So for mindset, that could be something as I want to start meditating. I want to start journaling on a regular basis. You know, I have a lot of stress in my life. I want to start working through that. And maybe some things need to change. Maybe a life or a work situation needs to change. Maybe your environment needs to change. Maybe your relationships need to change this year. What does that look like? Maybe you want to start doing some things differently or getting back out there or develop some new relationships. Maybe there's some things that you know you need to do for a long time that you just haven't had the courage to be able to do, or really haven't taken that next step to be able to do it, but you know it would bring a lot of benefit and joy in your life. That's really where mindset comes in. And just like anything else, mindset is a muscle. Just like you would exercise, just like you would eat well, just like you would get adjusted, you got to train mindset. You can't just say, I'm going to be less stressed. That doesn't work. What are you going to do to be less stressed? You got to work that muscle too of your mind, and when you do that consistently, that's when you can really see things change there in a very healthy way. Exercise, we all know we need to move. What's your fitness plan for yourself this year? I'm going to start walking 30 minutes a day. I'm going to exercise at the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to start playing pickleball 3 days a week. I'm going to join the walk club in my neighborhood. I'm going to get a fitness trainer. I'm going to do whatever this is for you. Let's start making some goals for what your fitness is going to be this year. And the last one is toxins. Chemical stress is a big interference to our health, right? All stresses come down to just 3 things: emotional, physical, and chemical. And chemical is the one that a lot of people miss. So that may be, I'm going to really clean up the toxicity in my life this year. I'm going to pay attention to the quality of the food I eat, to the cleaning products I use, to the clothes and textiles I have, and the environment in my home. Maybe it's cleaning out my air, getting air filters. Maybe it's I'm going to go through and do some detoxing this year. I'm going to get off some medications. I'm going to change the environment. I'm going to go through and work through some of my issues and do some testing and find out what's really going on, because I've tried a lot of things and it just hasn't resolved. Toxicity can really be a specific goal and can be huge for you. A lot of people's major issues can come back to chemical toxicity that's built up over time. So we want to have some goals for that area too. So as we go through and we work on these 5 essentials, I encourage you, when you go home today, go through the rest of these and start thinking about what you want. And don't get too complex on yourself. Let's just pick one thing we want to focus on in each of these areas, because that's going to be consistent. A lot of times what people will do is they'll get so many things. They'll get 15 things they want to do. I want to do this and this and this and this and this and this. And then you got this gigantic plan. It's like, how am I going to execute all that? How am I going to add an extra 15 hours to my day? That's not going to be achievable. But we can all work on 1 or 2 things in different areas. Am I right?
Yep.
Exactly. And then once you hit those, that's what the point of the waypoints along the way. That's why we want to have these attainable goals. So that way we know we can work through it. And once I get to that level, it's like, okay, I've gotten to this level now. What's my next level going to look like? And that's how you continually progress forward. Because people will get to levels and then they'll stop and go down because they get comfortable. Or they'll try to get to a level and they don't make it, and it's like, I can't get there. So they just stop and they sink back down anyway. We want to be able to eliminate both of those. And that's what the next exercise is going to help you do, is overcome what's stopping you. So that's the next section in your packet here. So the first page, what you're going to do is you're going to take your SMART goals that we had set for ourselves, both short-term and long-term. So the section on is going to be your left side here, the long-term goal. This is the vision that you want to create for your life. So when you look at vision, and we're going to talk about this when it comes to identity, I want to be a healthy, fit person. Well, what does that look like? Well, for me, that would be I would want to weigh a certain weight. I want to have a certain body fat percentage. I want to have a level of energy and health. I want to be medication-free. I want to be pain-free. Whatever that looks like, we're going to set some long-term goals in those 5 essentials. And really, this could be any area of your life. This doesn't just have to be health-related. This could be, I want to get a different kind of job. I want to get in a certain type of relationship. I want to move into my dream house. I want to take my dream trip, whatever that is. You can put that long-term goal here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create short-term goals along the way. And that's really where those SMART goals come into play. Right? So if you have this amazing vision or dream that you want to achieve in your life, maybe that's even 5 or 10 years down the road. Right? We don't want to be taking the steps to get 10 years from now. We want to take the next step. Because if you're trying to walk 100 miles, you're not trying to figure out, how do I walk 100 miles? You're trying to figure out, well, how do I get to the end of the street? And then it's like, okay, once I get to the end of the street, how do I go an extra mile? And then once I go to a mile, how do I get to the end of the city? Once I get to the end of the city, how do I get through the next city? And you're going along the way, you're going to be much more successful to be able to do that. And it's bite-sized chunks along the way. So that's the first step, is really get into what we want. What does that vision look like for the different areas of your life? And then we're going to start setting some short-term goals to be able to get there using that SMART method. And that's what the worksheet that I gave you, the simple, measurable, attainable, relevant, and then timely. So the next page is we're looking at what are going to be your barriers. Because the biggest barrier, whether you're willing to admit it or not, is you. You are always the one who's going to determine what's going on. And it's when you take responsibility for that that your life's really going to change. We unfortunately live in a society now where everyone likes to blame everybody else for what's going on. I'm here because this person, because of the government, because of that, or because this happened to me, or where I was born, or what I look like, or whatever it is, right? Always limiting people for why they can't have what they want. But every single time someone says that, I guarantee you we can show you somebody in the exact same situation that had the exact same challenges or worse, that overcome all of it and was amazing success. Right? We have that freedom. Although there may be barriers that come up, each and every one of us has the same opportunities to do what we want in our life. Just about taking responsibility. If you're not where you want, the only person you should be looking at is yourself. And when you're able to actually do that is when you really start taking the steps to getting what you want. So that's the first barrier, is how do you overcome yourself? And really start looking at what you think those barriers are. 2-year goals. So if the thing was, I want to go on my dream vacation and take a trip around the world, well, maybe that costs like 300 grand. I don't have 300 grand laying around. Okay, so that's a barrier, right? There's a financial barrier there. So what would I have to do to get that amount of money in that period of time? And what does that look like? How do I get creative? Who do I need to access, right? Maybe it's, I want to run a marathon, but right now you can't walk around the block. Well, okay, well, what are the action steps that I need to take? How would I be able to get there within that period of time? I got to get my body healthy. I got to get on a good nutrition plan. I got to make sure that I'm healing the things that I need and taking the steps to be able to get there. And once you start to identify what those barriers are, you're not going to be as surprised when they come up. So we actually want to think almost devil's advocate on it, like, well, what could happen if I did this? If I start taking action toward this, and what's the worst case scenario? This is what I encourage each and every one of you to do. Because if you can look at the worst case scenario and realize, well, that's not that bad, then you're going to be okay. You know the 2 biggest reasons why people fail and don't do what they want to do? Can anybody guess what they are?
Fear.
Fear is one. What's the other one? Laziness. It's fear and laziness. Those are the 2 reasons why the largest majority of people don't do the things that they want to do. So if you can overcome those things, number 1, fear, by saying, what's the worst thing that could happen? If I went and I tried to do this, what's the absolute worst case scenario, right? All the way up to maybe I could die. Okay, and then you either accept that or you don't, right? And if you accept it, of like, okay, well, that's the worst possible thing. I can deal with that. Now you remove that fear barrier and you can go for it. And number 2 is laziness, and well, there's ways to work out why that may happen and how to change those patterns. That's another one. You just don't actually take that first step, right? Because you have these barriers, well, I can't do it, I'm too busy, I'm tired. Well, let's solve those problems too. And so the deeper you get into this, and the more you ask yourself the hard questions, the more valuable this exercise is going to be for you. That's why we're not going to sit here and do it right now, because I actually want you to take some time and think about it. This isn't just a quick thing where you're just writing through to get it done. Like, take the time and really think about it, so that way you can get to where you want. That's going to be your long-term goal, and it's going to be your short-term goal. So the next thing is, once you get all these barriers, now this is where we start planning for, how am I going to deal with the setbacks? So along the way, you're going to have setbacks. Right? You have a physical goal, maybe you get injured. Maybe something comes up. Maybe something happens. Maybe you have an emergency where you got to travel out of town for a period of time, or you got to move, or something blocks you in the way. Well, is that going to stop you, or did you already foresee this happening and you have a backup plan? Well, I can't go to the gym anymore, so I'm going to start working out at home. Right? I can't follow this plan, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing this plan. Right? I can't continue what I need to do here, so I'm going to continue it over there. But having those plans for a setback, when that happens and you expect it to happen, now you're going to already be prepared what to do. It's like, okay, I thought this might happen. I foresaw this. I already have a plan, and you can take action on that, right? If you know it's going to be tough to stick with your nutrition plan because you travel all the time, plan for that. I know I'm going to be traveling for this period of time. I know I'm going to have setbacks, so I got to bring my own food. I got to plan what I'm going to be able to do. I got to, work it all into there so you can still be successful, right? That's how you start overcoming these things, is because you're going layers and layers deep. So again, look at these. What are these setbacks going to look like? That's why we go through the barriers first, and then what is going to be your goals and how are you going to overcome these setbacks when they happen? And the last thing is, you want to figure out what really drives you to succeed. Right, this is going to be really important here too. And having a bigger goal. So that's going to be on this last one. What motivates you? When you have a big reason why, anything is attainable. And you see these examples again all the time, right? If we ask you to swim across the lake, like, there's no way I can do that. I'm not a very good swimmer. The water's cold, whatever it may be. But then if you had like your child or your grandchild drowning in the middle of the lake, you would figure it out, right? You'd be swimming out there. You wouldn't think about any of those things. You would just do it because the why is important enough for you, right? It's motivating for you to be able to do it. But if it was just like, hey, let's go swim across the lake, like, well, that doesn't sound that interesting. I don't think I want to do it. All the barriers and all the stuff comes up. So when it comes to these types of things, that's why the goal has to be relevant. Because it's not really relevant to you. If it's something somebody else wants for you, or you think you should do or are pressured into, you may be short-term motivated because you get that external gratification, but you're not really committed to it. It's not really that important to you, so you're not really going to do it. And that's going to be key too, is you got to have those motivating factors to at least get you started, to do the first steps, to set up the systems, and to create some momentum, because everything does require time. You have to start, you have to take action. So having some good motivations is what's going to be able to get you there. So now that we have an idea of what do we want for our vision in the different areas of our life, and you can even just do, you can do this on one thing if you want to. You don't have to do 10 things. If there's just one thing you really, like, hey, I really want to just work on this year. If I could just be better in this one area this year, I'm going to be a lot more satisfied, a lot happier, and be able to do more of the things that I want to do. Then just do one. If you're one of those people that's, I want to do like 5 or 10 things, go for 5 or 10 things, right? It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong with this, but follow the system and you'll be much more successful. And then once you start getting there, find other people that you're going to share it with that can help hold you accountable. Because we're more likely to let ourselves down than let other people down. And that's why it's good to have a healthy network, right? Someone who you know that you can actually hold you accountable and is going to work with you along the way. This all sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, right?
Yep.
Now we want to go through some different resources. And there's lots of books out there, there's seminars, all kinds of things that you could do too. There's a few I want to talk about today that have really helped me and that make a lot of sense because it doesn't require some amazing system. It's easy to do, it's reproducible, sustainable over time. One of those books is Atomic Habits. Has anybody read this book?
Lily.
Okay.
Lily has it.
Yeah, a couple of people have read it. Maybe you've never heard of it before. Right? I don't work for Atomic Habits. I'm not getting royalties from this or anything. I just think it's really helped me, and the system of it makes sense. So I encourage all of you, if habits are an issue for you, read this book. And it's one of those books that you read over and over again because it's more of like a how-to and an idea and just a reminder of keep doing the right stuff. But if you break this book down, right, if you just want the Cliff's Notes version, there's really 3 main concepts. Number 1 is small habits make a big difference. This is probably the coolest thing about this. When we talk about that long-term vision, right, it looks so far away sometimes that you don't even want to do it. If you stood next to a giant mountain and you look up and you're like, I gotta climb this thing? That seems insane. How am I gonna be able to do that? But if you just think, well, I gotta make it to that ridge, I could do that. I could do that. Oh, I'm gonna make it to that ridge over there, I can do that, right? And you just keep doing that over and over. Eventually you're like, I'm at the top. This is awesome, right? And if you don't make it, you learn on why. And then what barriers came up? What were the setbacks that happened? How do I train for this next time? And you go back and you do it again and you go higher and higher and higher and better, right? That's the idea. That's how life works. So he talks about 1% better each day. What if we got 1% better? And that's part of the attainable goals too, right? If you haven't worked out in a year, like I'm going to start exercising this year, you don't set a goal. I'm going to work out 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, that's not going to work. Like maybe do that this week, but probably the 3rd day you're going to be so sore, like I'm quitting. I'm done. I'm not doing it. But what if you just walked 5 minutes today, right? What if it was 7 minutes tomorrow? Or 6.5, or whatever that is, right? 1% better. Can we all get 1% better? Yeah. We can all get 1% better. And here's the cool part, right? It compounds. So what they talk about is if you got 1% better each day, you'd be 37 times better by the end of the year. 37 times. That's huge. Just by getting 1% better. So that's when it comes into habits, and it talks about this when you go through the book. Well, at the end of the day, what do I want to focus on tomorrow? Reflecting, how did I do today? What were the things I said I was going to do? Did I do them or did I not? What went well, what didn't? What am I going to do tomorrow? What does that look like? What are my 3 steps or 5 steps I'm going to focus on? In the morning, reviewing that. Okay, I'm going to do these things today. Great. Working through that throughout the day. And at the end of the day, reflecting. Did I get a little bit better? Did I make progress? And if you continually do this, small steps, you can make radical change in your life. Number 2, and this goes a little bit of what we talked about, forget about setting goals and focus on your systems. Now what that really means is like, oh, I don't got to set goals anymore. What it means is the goal is not the end game. The goals are just little things that you're working towards to be able to get there. But it's the system you create in your life to achieve those goals that really creates the success. So it talks about when you read through the book that you want to create little systems in your life. So if I'm going to exercise, what is the system to that? I do it at this time. I put my running shoes out. I put my clothes out. I get up at 6:45. I put it on. I go and do it, right? Because then it's already done. You don't have to think about it like, oh, I got to go run today. When am I going to do that? I'm pretty busy. I don't know. It's already done. There's a system. There's a plan. And when you create these systems in your life of I just do these things, the success level goes way up. Because now you're not having to think about it. It doesn't require an external motivation. You just do it, right? At 9 o'clock, I just do my journal for 10 minutes. I just do it. That's the plan. It doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. It doesn't matter what's going on. I pull it out. I write it down. It's just the system. And when you create these systems in your life, the level of success goes ways up. And this is really huge. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If you set goals and you don't achieve them, that's why. Because you don't have a system for it. The goal is to create a system. Right? When you create systems for the things you want in your life, success goes up, right? When you go to, not that these are the best places, but you go to like a Starbucks or you go to a certain place, right? There's a system. There's a consistency. There's a reason why it comes out a certain way and why it's one of the biggest businesses in the world. They didn't just guess. They don't just say, well, you guys make coffee this way and you guys do it that way and you guys can sell donuts and you guys sell pastries and you guys do this and you guys do that. Right? That would have never happened. There's a very specific system. You can take somebody who knows absolutely nothing about it, walk them through the system. In a week, they're making your cappuccino, frappuccino the same way you had it last week. Right? There's a system. And that's what leads to success. So get those systems in, and the book tells you how to do that. And the next one is identity-based habits. And this is really key. And this is going to be part of what you take home today as well, is that you decide who you want to be, and you prove it to yourself consistently with the small wins. That's the concept of the 1% better, right? So if we say, I want to exercise more, or I want to lose weight, or I want to quit smoking, right? It's hard to quit smoking when you're still a smoker. It's hard to lose weight when you're still an overweight individual. It's hard to be energetic and motivated when you tell yourself every day, I'm lazy, I have low energy, I got XYZ problems. Those things may be a reality in your current self, but that doesn't have to be your future self. So when you really go through and you change your identity, I'm a non-smoker. Smoking doesn't make sense, right? For those of you who are non-smokers, if someone says, hey, you want a cigarette? You're like, no, I want a cigarette. But what would a smoker trying to quit say? Oh, I'm trying to quit. Maybe I'll have just one. Because you still identify as a smoker. That never changed for you. So when you start looking at those areas of your life and the identity you've created for yourself, or maybe someone else imposed upon you, you want to start changing that quickly. Because when you say, I'm a fit person that exercises regularly, well, exercise just makes sense. If you say, oh, I don't exercise, I'm not into that, well, then it doesn't make a lot of sense. So starting to change your identity is going to be huge. When you can get these three things down, small habits, creating systems, changing your identity, and proving to yourself. That's why we want to create sustainable goals. Because if I say I'm going to go walk for 5 minutes today, I can achieve that. I walked for 5 minutes. It even talks about it. For some people, it was like 2 minutes. And then it's like, well, I can do 2 minutes. Well, why don't I just do 5? 5 is pretty easy. I can probably do 10. Hey, you know what? I'm going to walk around the whole block. Next thing you know, it's an hour. And now you're a walker. But if you started out, I'm going to start walking around the block every day, that might not have happened. The other thing it talks about is the laws of behavior change. And there's 4 main laws. So you want to write these down. Number 1 is the cue. So a cue is something that triggers your habit. So maybe that's you smell something and you eat it, right? You wake up in the morning and you smell the coffee aroma. What does that trigger? Well, that triggers a desire for coffee. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Or you see a certain thing, or someone says a certain thing to you, or whatever that may be, there's a cue that exists, right? That triggers whatever that habit is. So if you're trying to create a good habit, you want to create an obvious cue. So if that's working out in the morning, you put your shoes right next to your bed, you put your workout clothes right there, you got to trip over them and intentionally walk by them to not go for a walk that morning, versus they're stuffed away in the closet. If you want to start doing your home care kit every day, you don't keep it in the bag it came in and it sits in the garage, right? That's not obvious, right? You put it right there. You put your head weight where you brush your teeth every morning. You put your wobble disc on your desk chair. You put your neck traction on the closet you have to walk into to get your clothes. It's very obvious. You have to blatantly move it to not do it. And the more obvious you make things you want to do, the easier it becomes. Number 2 is the craving. So you want to make it attractive. There's a reason why certain habits are attractive to us, because you get a result from it, right? I eat a certain thing, I feel a certain way. I do a certain activity, I feel a certain way. You wouldn't do things if it always sucked, because what would be the point, right? You can force things for a little while, but you wouldn't keep doing it. So you got to make it attractive. Like, there's got to be some kind of benefit behind it, and that's the small wins and where that comes into play. And then you want to make it easy. So this is the response. So first you got the cue, and then you crave it. So you smell the coffee, like, oh man, I really love coffee. Well, making coffee is pretty darn easy, right? If you had to go out to the back and pick the coffee cherry and roast it down, you know, and it takes 5 hours before you get a cup of coffee, coffee wouldn't be so attractive. But you already have the roasted grounds. They're already right there. Maybe you have a machine that makes it for you. So you smell it. Hey, I want some coffee. Oh, the pot's already got coffee in it. Sweet. Ready to go. That was super easy, right? So the process of drinking coffee is really easy. So you're going to do it a lot because you get cues. It's rewarding for you. It's very easy to do. So you're going to keep doing it. And the last thing is make it satisfying, right? If that cup of coffee tastes like dirt, then you're probably not going to do it. It's like, well, that was easy, but it's not good. So when you do these things consistently, you create cues that are obvious, very obvious. You make it attractive. So there has to be a benefit behind doing it, otherwise you're not going to do it long term. You make that process as easy as you can, and then it's satisfying, right? And sometimes you may do a hard thing that's not satisfying, but you can create rewards for yourself. Hey, if I exercise 5 days this week, I'm going to get myself that purse I've been wanting. Oh, now I'm motivated, right? If your problem is I watch too much TV at night, I'm not going to watch TV until I exercise on the bike for 30 minutes. Okay, well now I'm motivated to do that. I'm not going to drink my coffee until I do my journal for 10 minutes. Well, now you're creating rewards. So doing the activity is creating rewards. Not to compare it to this, but like that's how you train like an animal or a child or simpler people is you give them a cue, we ring a bell, we give you a reward, it's attractive, it's easy, and then that behavior just repeats itself over time. We're trying to do the same things. So the 4 habits: cue, craving, response, and reward. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Now, what if we're trying to get rid of a habit? So I have a habit that I don't like that I want to get rid of. What do you think we do?
Replace it.
We do the exact opposite, right? So we do the inversion of all 4 laws. Now we make it invisible. So if I want to stop drinking coffee, we don't have a coffee maker in the kitchen. We don't have coffee grounds. We don't have any of the ingredients. So if I want a cup of coffee, I got to get in the car, I got to drive to the store to be able to get it. Now you may still do those some days, but it's not going to be as attractive, right? It's a lot harder. You take it out. If I'm trying to stop eating ice cream, you don't have a fridge full of ice cream and hope that you don't eat it. You don't buy it. It's not there. It's no longer invisible, right? You want to quit smoking, throw away all your cigarettes, throw away your lighter, throw away your ashtrays. Everything that's associated with that habit, gone completely from your life. So it requires a lot of work. And that's number 2. Make it unattractive, right? So now it's unattractive. What goes along with that? Think of all the bad things that go along with it. Man, smoking kind of smells. There's the cigarette butts. It damages my lungs. All these bad things that come around from it. My teeth start getting yellow. All this stuff. Like, that's not very attractive. So the thing that you used to like now becomes a negative in your life. All the things that are not good about it, remind yourself of consistently. And then make it hard. Make it hard. The harder it is for you to do, the less likely you are to do it. I want to drink less often. Well, don't keep alcohol in your house, right? You got to like get in the car, drive to the bar, the store to go get it. And you have to be pretty motivated to be able to do that, right? And you're not going to do it every day. And if you do it, make it a one-time thing. Don't bring it back home because now you're making it difficult to do. And then rewards, unsatisfying, right? So then now you're kind of punishing yourself and taking things away that you like. If I don't follow this, now I'm not going to be able to do that, right? If I break these agreements to myself, I'm not going to get the person I want. I'm not going to go on the trip I want. I'm not going to do the thing, and don't do it anyway. Make it unattractive, unsatisfying, make it really hard to do, and all of a sudden these bad habits start going away. Now, there's another book called The Compound Effect. Anybody read this? Okay, one person. So this kind of goes through a similar idea. And what it does, it goes through the same strategy of small things that seem insignificant today that compounded over time create massive success. And this is all about kind of grinding it through, is what this book's about. And Darren Hart, if you follow any of his stuff, this guy is just doesn't matter what happens, I'm doing it, right? No excuses, no limitations. You can achieve anything you want in your life. But the whole concept of it is about doing small things consistently over time that compounds to a big effect, right? If you wanted to dig a pool in your yard and you took one shovel out every single day, that doesn't seem like a lot. It may take a couple of months, but eventually, maybe after like a year or two, you're like, oh, I got a hole big enough to fill a pool. That's pretty cool, right? Your life is the same way, consistently doing the stuff. So the atomic habits, if you compound the effects of that, the 1% rule, that's going to be 37 times better. Pretty cool, right? You can achieve massive great things. We overestimate what we can do in a short period of time, and we underestimate what we can do over a longer period of time. And that's why it's good to have those long game type goals. And the other thing, you got to measure it. That's part of the SMART goal. You can't improve something until you measure it and then take responsibility. I think that's one of his biggest things too. Like I had mentioned, you got to take responsibility. And remember, it's your fault, good or bad. And find ways to take responsibility in any situation, even if it seems like you had nothing to do with it and it was almost completely out of your control. Then you can take responsibility for how you respond to it. If something does happen completely, I had absolutely nothing to do with this, there's nothing else I could have done differently, well, I still get to choose how I respond to the situation and the action I take as a result of it. So you always have an opportunity to take responsibility no matter what. I encourage you so highly, don't be a blamer. Don't make excuses. Don't put it on other people. I can't because of this. I can't because of that. I can't because of my kids. I can't because of this. I can't because of work, right? That's just you keeping yourself from getting what you want. And nobody can change that but you. And this may be the hardest part, that long look at yourself in the mirror and saying, I am where I am because of me, and only I can change it. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone else around you has nothing to do with it. But when you take responsibility for you, you can change your outcomes. And how you respond to everybody else gets better too. That's the coolest part, is everyone else around you also gets better because you're better. So that's going to be this last section here, is kind of going through and looking at what is your current identity of yourself? What do you think of yourself? What do you say to yourself? Do you say, I suck, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm old, I'm young, I'm this or that, right? We say those things to ourselves, right? Sometimes we say the meanest things to ourselves. I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm lazy, I can't do it, nobody likes me. Whatever that is, we all have those things, but what is your empowering identity, right? What is the, I'm an achiever, I can do whatever I want, I'm healthy, I'm fit, I'm energetic, I live a great life, people love me, I bring value to others. What is that? How do you view yourself, right? Do you view yourself as somebody who is healthy? And is that an honest representation? Are you someone who exercises? If not, why not? Can you achieve more? Do you enjoy what you do for a living? Are you happy with your day-to-day? How would you describe yourself to somebody else? And then we look at your future self, right? If we looked at you 1 year from today, what does that person look like? What do they feel like? What are the kind of things are they doing? What changed in your life? And now how do you feel? Write one sentence. Who are you now? So we're looking at these different things. Who do I want to be? What is my identity of myself? What are the things I'm currently doing? Where I want to be in a year? How do I feel like I am right now? And the bottom part, what does that say at the bottom?
Now take action.
Take action. What we say at the beginning? Take action. None of this stuff changes. We have these unconscious patterns. You know, most of your day is just your brain repeating what happened yesterday. That's most of our day. We're literally, we think we have conscious control. It's like 90-something%. of your brain just replays what happened yesterday. It just keeps going, right? How many times have you just been getting in the car and you get to work, like, how did I even get here?
Yeah.
Right? You walk downstairs, it's like poop, poop, poop. Everything just on autopilot, because that's what your brain does. It's trying to conserve energy. So most of the stuff that you do consistently, it just does it the same way. And if you never do anything differently, that's always going to play that. You're like, man, how come this always happens? Now you know. Your brain's just replaying what it already knows. It's just replaying the identity that you said you have, your thoughts of yourself, your actions, and your beliefs. And the only way to change any unconscious pattern is action. Without action, nothing will ever change. No behavior will ever change. Nothing in your life will change. Maybe short term, you can get lucky here and there, but never long term will it be there if you're not taking consistent action. And that's the biggest takeaway from today. Small things, consistently over time, in a system that works, with healthy thoughts about yourself, is going to give you everything you want in your life. And all the people talk about it. If you go to Tony Robbins or you go to any of these seminars, they all talk about the same things. What do you really want? What do you believe about yourself? What are your limiting beliefs? Why are you not there? And there's all kinds of techniques to be able to go through it. But I'm telling you, you don't got to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and travel all around the world and go to all these crazy seminars to be able to get there. You just got to follow these simple things, right? Now in our office, we focus a lot on health. And when you do these things in your health, you see how you can be more successful. And there are people who radically change their health. And they take action, and that's who they are. And there are people who kind of go like this. And there are some people who just go this way, and they believe there's nothing they can do to ever change that. So what do you believe? What kind of action are you going to take? What is your life going to look like? That's up to you. We're here to help guide you along the way. We're here to help and do what we can. But it's up to you to do it. And it's like we talked about in our mission. Empowering you to live a healthy life. No doctor is going to fix stuff for you. No nutrition plan, no exercise plan is going to fix your stuff. Only you. And once you're empowered to take the action consistently is when you're going to get better. And not just better for a bit. That's going to be better for the rest of your life. And that's the goal, is that we're changing your identity of how you view and manage your health long term for you and your family to live a better life. And that comes down to doing the right things consistently and doing it over and over and over again. So unlike most of our workshops, there's not a lot of health action steps coming from this. This is all about the mindset component of it.